They say you should never mix family with business. I used to roll my eyes at that until the day I stood outside my own house, keys useless in my hand, while my nephew watched me from the window. His silhouette didn't move. He just stared. That house. The one I raised him in. The one I refinanced to help him through college. The one where we celebrated every birthday, every Christmas. It didn't belong to me anymore. On paper, it was his. On every legal document, every signature, his name was the only one that mattered. And the worst part? He didn't steal it. I gave it to him. Piece by piece, signature by signature, blind with love and trust. My name is Diane. I raised my nephew Liam after his mother, my sister, died in a car accident when he was just 10. I took him in, fed him, clothed him, fought for him, defended him, even against my husband and daughter when they said he was changing. I thought they just didn't understand his grief. I thought they were being unfair. Now I realize they saw something I refused to see. Before I tell you how Liam turned our lives upside down and took everything we built, if you've ever trusted someone too much and paid the price, or you believe that family isn't always what it seems, hit subscribe. Because this story, it's not just about betrayal. It's about how far someone can go when they feel they were never truly yours to begin with. I remember the day he first called me Mom. He was 11. I cried. He smiled. That night, I stayed up late calculating how to open a savings account for his future. I thought I was doing everything right, but Liam wasn't planning a future with us. He was watching, taking notes, waiting. Years later, when my husband collapsed in the driveway and never got up again, Liam was the one who comforted me. He made the calls, handled the finances, told me to rest, and I let him. That was my first real mistake. Because trust doesn't break with betrayal. It decays quietly, under every blind decision we make. At first, I thought the missing money was just a bank error. I didn't know I was already being erased, one document at a time. After my sister died, Liam came to us with nothing but a duffel bag and a scar on his temple from the crash. He didn't cry much. He didn't talk much either. But when I tucked him into the spare bedroom that first night, he whispered, "Will I have to leave too?" "No, baby," I said. "You're home now." And I meant it. We adjusted, slowly. My husband Mark struggled more than I did. "It's not that I don't care," he told me one night, "but you're treating him like he's ours. He's not." I hated him for that. Liam was quiet, polite, brilliant in school. I showed up to every parent-teacher conference, bought him his first suit for a debate competition, made pancakes every Saturday like it was tradition. When my daughter Emily, 4 years younger, complained that Liam got everything, I chalked it up to sibling jealousy. "You don't see what he's been through," I told her. But maybe she saw something else. By the time Liam turned 18, he'd earned a scholarship. I was so proud. But instead of dorm life, he asked to stay home and study remotely. Said he could help with the business. The family logistics company Mark and I had built from the ground up. We let him in, taught him everything. Payroll, contracts, invoices. Eventually, we added his name to certain accounts for convenience. Then, to the LLC registration. Then, to property papers, when Mark suggested we consolidate assets for tax purposes. I signed every paper. "You trust him more than me," Mark said once. "Because he never made me feel alone," I snapped back. Now, looking back, I see it. Liam wasn't reacting. He was studying, memorizing the way we worked, the way I thought. He waited. The first time I noticed something wrong, it was small. A payment to a supplier bounced. I called the bank. They told me the business account had a new authorization tier, one I hadn't set. Liam had, and my signature was already there. I stared at the scanned PDF the bank emailed me. My name, my signature. Clean, legal, binding. I didn't remember signing that form, but I must have. I trusted him. He'd always brought me documents, told me where to sign. Just admin stuff, he'd say with a smile. That smile, so warm, so familiar. Now it chilled me to the bone. I told myself it was just a mistake. Banks make mistakes all the time. Maybe Liam updated something without realizing the consequences. I walked into his office, technically the back room of our warehouse, and asked. He barely looked up from his laptop. Oh, that. Yeah, I streamlined a few things. You said you were tired of the admin load. I figured I'd help. I blinked. I had said that months ago, but I never meant this. Liam, I said slowly, you should have told me. He closed the laptop and finally looked me in the eyes. Didn't think I needed to. I thought we were past asking permission. That word, permission, stuck with me. It wasn't about support. It wasn't about helping. It was about control. He didn't see me as a parent anymore. He saw me as a stepping stone he'd already stepped off of. Later that week, I opened a folder in our home filing cabinet and found a document I didn't recognize. A clause amending power of attorney rights over our shared assets. My signature was there again. I stared at it for 10 minutes, heart pounding, hands shaking. I had no memory of signing it, but the ink was dry and it was notarized. That night I confronted him. Why do you have access to everything? My name is disappearing from our company, from our house. He didn't even pretend to deny it. You always said this was my home, he said. You always said I was family. I'm just making sure it reflects on paper now. I wanted to scream, but I didn't, because somewhere in the back of my mind, a sickening thought settled in. Maybe I had given him everything so completely that there was nothing left to take. When my husband died, I thought I'd lost my partner. I didn't realize I'd lost our protections too. Liam was the executor of the estate, and he used it to erase me, one document at a time. After Mark died, a heart attack in the driveway. I couldn't function for weeks. I slept on the couch, cried in the bathroom so Emily wouldn't see me fall apart. Liam stepped up, just like he always did, handled the funeral, coordinated the taxes, talked to our lawyers. I thought he was being strong. I didn't know he was closing the door behind me. The house title transferred during probate. Liam said it was temporary, just for simplicity. The company's new shares were split between him and Emily. Again, for tax purposes. I was grieving. I didn't notice. I didn't ask. But when I finally came up for air and tried to log into our business account, access denied. Customer support told me, that account no longer recognizes your user ID. That was the moment it hit me. Not only was I no longer in control, I was no longer needed. I tried to fight back, at first quietly. I called the old family lawyer who'd helped us with the business incorporation, but he was no longer representing the company. Liam had brought in someone new, younger, colder. When I requested access to the original partnership contracts, I got a formal letter warning me against unauthorized interference. I still had the kitchen, the couch, a toothbrush in the bathroom, but it wasn't my house anymore. I was a tenant in my own life, and I didn't even have a lease. I turned to Emily, desperate for a crack of empathy. She had always been strong-willed, but soft at the edges. At least I thought so. She listened to me, arms crossed, unreadable. And then she said, "He's done more for this family in the last 2 years than you have in 10. I felt something in me snap. Emily, I carried this family through funerals and debt and everything in between. No, Mom, you controlled it, and now you're mad that someone else is steering the ship. The worst betrayals don't come with screaming. They come with silence. They come when your daughter, your baby, looks you in the eye and defends the person who's erasing you. I started keeping notes, printed out every document I could find, every transfer, every email. I built a folder, my last weapon. I even tried to contact a reporter who once did a piece on elder abuse and inheritance fraud, but the story never ran. I got a polite email, no provable wrongdoing. All transfers appear legal and consensual, because I had signed it all away. One rushed evening at the kitchen table, one grieving week after the funeral, one, trust me, this just makes it easier. Liam was methodical, calculated, not malicious, at least not in the way that screams villain. He was quiet, professional. Worse, he was calm. Every time I tried to confront him, he'd tilt his head and say something like, "Are you sure this isn't about control, Diane? Maybe you're just scared to let go." He gaslit me so gently, I started to believe him. Maybe I was losing it. Maybe grief had warped my memory. But then one morning, I found the box. In the garage, behind the old water heater, Mark's papers, his will. The original one, not the new one that Liam had produced after probate. Mark had left everything to me. And that's when I realized Liam didn't just take what was his, he rewrote what wasn't. I stared at that will like it was a ghost, dated 6 months before Mark died. His signature, notarized, everything clearly laid out. The house, the business, the investments, all to me. Not Emily, not Liam. He trusted me to carry it forward, to keep it in the family. But the will Liam submitted to probate said something different. I brought the documents to a lawyer in the next town. Neutral, discreet. She looked over both wills, flipping through the pages with clinical calm. "This one," she said, tapping the one Liam used, "was signed 2 weeks before Mark passed. But Mark was barely speaking by then. He was on medication." I'm not a handwriting analyst, but this signature looks a bit too clean, too perfect. I felt hope, sharp, fragile, almost dangerous. Was this finally it? Proof? A way to undo everything? She took a breath. But unless you can prove he was under duress or incapacitated at the time, it's his legal word. It wasn't about lies. It was about being one step too late. You don't fight fire with memory. You fight it with evidence. And I had none. The bank accounts were closed to me. The passwords changed. Emily refused to testify. Said she didn't want to get in the middle. Liam, of course, denied everything. And why wouldn't he? He didn't need to shout, threaten, or manipulate anymore. He had already won. Then, one afternoon, he knocked on my apartment door. I hadn't seen him in 6 months. He stepped in like he still belonged there, looked around the small space with something between pity and satisfaction. And then he sat down and crossed his legs. "You're angry?" he said. I didn't respond. "I just want to explain." "I don't want your explanation," I said. He leaned forward. "You raised me. You gave me a home. You made me believe I was safe. But I always knew I wasn't really yours. I was a guest, a project, a second-place child in someone else's story." I swallowed hard. "That's not true." He smiled. "Maybe not to you, but it was to me." He stood. "I didn't destroy you, Diane. I just stopped pretending to owe you." Then he left, and that was the last time I saw him. Sometimes I still check the business website. It's rebranded now, new colors, new name. No trace of me or Mark. Liam's face is on the About Us page, arms folded, that same rehearsed smile. The one he learned in our hallway mirror. Emily works there too. I see her in a few press photos, standing beside him, polished and successful. I wonder if she knows, or if knowing just stopped mattering. The house was sold last month. I saw the listing by accident. They changed the kitchen, painted over the backsplash Mark and I tiled ourselves. We raised the little chip and the marble I always swore I'd fix. Even the garden's good. The rose bush Liam planted when he was 12. Cut down. Everything is cleaner now, colder. I live alone. A small apartment, 2 rooms. The sound of traffic outside instead of the birds we used to hear in the backyard. I sleep lighter than I used to, wake up faster, trust slower. People ask me why I don't take him to court, why I don't fight harder. But this wasn't a robbery. It was an inheritance of silence, of guilt, of choices I can't undo. Tell me, if someone takes everything from you with your own permission, were you robbed or did you give it all away? Because I raised him. And maybe that's the part I can't forgive. Not what he did, but who I let him become.